Investor Connect podcast program. This is Hall T. Martin. I'm the host of the show, in which we interview angel investors, venture capital, private equity, family offices, and many other investor groups for startups and growth companies. I hope you enjoy this episode. Thank you for joining us. Well, hello, this is Hall Martin with Investor Connect. Today we're here with Donald Stalter of Global Founders Capital. Donald, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So what was your background before joining the early stage investing world?
Sure. Well, also, I started out after graduating from the University of Chicago as an investment banker at Credit Suisse in the M&A group in San Francisco. We did deals like Google YouTube, Google DoubleClick. We represented Google on a whole variety of opportunities. But I was also afforded the opportunity to do deals in Brazil and in Europe. And so my interest was piqued on the international side very, very early. And then I actually joined a growth fund in London, which was a spin out of Jefferies Investment Bank. And I met some fantastic entrepreneurs out of Germany called the Samware brothers. And we built a business called City Deal, which we very quickly sold to Groupon. You can read about it sort of on a variety of publications online, but it was a fantastic exit. And then I became a VP of international with Groupon, building across Europe and then Asia and a variety of other geographies. And then about a year and a half thereafter, joined Airbnb to head up their international division. We built out Europe, we built out Asia again, sort of leveraging the Groupon experience, and then did a variety of angel investments. So some of the more interesting ones in my portfolio have included Checker, which is sort of a background check technology business that helped Uber and Lyft and a whole variety of on-demand businesses be able to grow their supply very, very rapidly. As an advisor to Handy, which is an on-demand cleaning business that helped Airbnb and a variety of others. So some really interesting businesses. And I joined Global Founders Capital a year and a half, 2 years ago, actually. And genesis of the fund was founded several years back. It's $1.2 billion. We're international. So we have 6 partners across the globe, as well as our managing partners. And meaning we like to invest very, very early. We either put $50K into a seed round or $2 million. Then we'll lead sort of subsequent rounds and really try to fund a business through its life cycle, entrepreneur first, really try to make sure that we're helping build out partnerships in various markets globally and just helping those businesses win. We love a whole variety of different categories. I focus pretty significantly on consumer businesses. So I've made investments in businesses like neighborhood goods in Texas, which we're really, really excited about. It's like a retail 3.0 concept. Put it this way, instead of going into a shopping mall and into a food court, you go into an environment and experience where you're actually engaged on every level, buying direct-to-consumer products you might see online, which you don't typically have access to, and being able to sort of tangibly understand sort of what's going on the web. So it's bringing the online offline in a lot of respects. They have craft brews, they have sort of food truck style environments, but I'll leave it up to sort of the business to sort of show what it does over time. We're very, very excited about that one. We also invested in businesses in Atlanta and Chicago, all across the United States. We've been very, very active. It's the tip of the iceberg. We're just building up here in the United States, so it's very exciting.
One of the emerging areas is the blockchain sector, and what do you think about that sector and investing in it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the blockchain provides a lot more security around transactions. In my portfolio right now, we have businesses in the real estate, title, and deed sector where you're trying to transfer a residential home title or commercial title or whatever else, and kind of traditional methods, just reams of paper and dealing with sort of intermediaries and multiple middlemen has proven very, very challenging. It takes margin away from a business, creates security risks, et cetera. To the extent that you can leverage the blockchain for transfers, I think there's a lot more speed, there's a lot more security, and I think you can scale a business much more quickly. So we're seeing quite a bit of that sort of in the real estate space, but it spans a whole variety of different markets. So if you look at the food technology space, there's a ton going on in the blockchain. Seeing sort of travel businesses, sort of Airbnb style businesses, leveraging the blockchain to help people make payments globally, leveraging cryptocurrencies so that you don't really have to go through sort of a currency exchange program, Forex, in order to make a payment. So it's much, much quicker and more seamless. So we're seeing the blockchain ritualized across a whole variety of marketplace verticals.
So for those who are investing in the blockchain startup world, what's your advice for them at this stage?
Yeah, what I would say is try to invest in traditional business models that already have a track record. And to the extent that they're going out and hiring blockchain engineers, doing tests and making sure that they kick the tires on the application of, call it a blockchain security system or whatever else, that's probably the right avenue. That's probably the right way to think about things. I think going in cold and investing straight into the blockchain is also something that people have had a lot of success with. I think for me, I just feel sometimes more comfortable investing in something that's proven, that's starting to leverage blockchain.
Well, it seemed like it's moving very fast. How do you see the industry evolving at this point? It seems like it's gone leaps and bounds ahead of where it was even 6 months ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm no expert, but what I would say is that a whole variety of applications of blockchain are going to sort of evolve and others are going to sort of fall out of favor. Say security is going to continue to be a very important application of it. I would say sort of transfer is going to be a very important application of it. But there are other applications that perhaps less interesting as well.
And so there are many challenges and risks in this space. Entrepreneurs who are making these platforms, what do you see as their biggest challenge?
I think one of the biggest challenges is actually finding talent. It's finding people who are able to build software around the blockchain because it's so new that the expertise is not really there yet in a lot of respects.
And for the investors who are on the other side investing in them, what do you see as the risks that they're putting in? Aside from the standard startup risks that could fail, what are the more specific risks that you see that they're encountering?
I think that understanding completely sort of through and through what an application of the blockchain is beyond sort of a high level description, a thesis, is a challenge for a lot of investors because folks have kind of just started investing in it. So how do you diligence things that are being done on the blockchain? You need to pull in experts. You need to make sure that you leverage your network. It's a whole different ballgame when it comes to diligence in these businesses. There are funds like Pantera, and there's some fantastic funds that have done crypto for quite a while now that have kind of that network and that expertise. But the genesis of a lot of funds that are investing in the category are not around sort of crypto or blockchain.
You mentioned a few key subsectors like real estate and food and supply chain, but what do you think of the other immediate opportunities to pursue?
I think fintech is certainly an exciting opportunity. I mean, look, there are trillions of transactions taking place all the time, and you want to be coherent and you want to make sure that everything is secure. And so anything from sort of KYC compliance all the way through to understanding trading volumes, there are a whole variety of different opportunities within the fintech category.
So aside from blockchain, what other areas do you find are most interesting to invest in these days from a non-blockchain point of view?
From a non-blockchain point of view, I mean, we're seeing an absolute ton in marketplaces, specifically sort of asset-light marketplaces within the travel space, the accommodations category, real estate technology. We're seeing quite a bit as well in, call it plant-based food, the beyond the impossibles of the world. We're seeing a ton in sort of, call it genetically modified, engineered plants that create sort of animal-like fats and sort of solubles. So I think those are very interesting categories. We're also seeing quite a bit in fintech and new ways of leveraging sort of credit card and debit card technologies.
Seems like you have your hands full there. What exactly are you looking for? What's the sweet spot for you as far as a startup goes?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it really comes down to the entrepreneur. I think, again, we're an entrepreneur-first fund. I think that energy, that passion, that excitement, that ability to sort of realize a vision is something that we care one heck of a lot of. And I'd say great teams, even better, complementary sort of entrepreneurs with a unified mindset. Right now, we're seeing a lot in the pet care space, the veterinary space. I think there's a lot of disruption going on, whether it's businesses that are trying to overhaul kind of the pound or the dog store, or it's businesses that are trying to overhaul, call it pet food, whether it's dry or sort of wet pet food. There's the pet insurance category. It's interesting, the pet medical category. I think there are a whole bunch of verticals within sort of veterinarian and pet care that are interesting.
Well, in the last few minutes we have today, what else should we cover that we haven't?
Sure. I'd be delighted to understand from you what you're seeing, and I'd love to sort of tackle some of the questions that you've been trying to answer. I mean, blockchain sounds like one of them, but what have you been hearing kind of throughout these calls and in discussions recently that you think could be interesting to discuss?
Well, there's a lot of interest in AI, and people are putting together or predicting a bright future for AI and machine language learning. And from my point of view, I always wonder about how easy or hard it's going to be to implement those systems, because in my college days, I actually studied AI and I tried to apply it. Granted, back when I did that, there weren't many data sets, there weren't that much computing power, and today there's plenty of both out there. But how easy is it going to be for people to really make AI systems work well and become profitable systems? Because all the startups are built on unending expectations of what it can do, and oftentimes it comes out less than that.
Yeah, so I think we've been seeing quite a few businesses that are leveraging manual labor, remote workers, for example, to work across discrete tasks, whether those tasks be programming related tasks or design tasks. There are folks all over the world who are sort of these on-demand workers who are providing them through a variety of platforms, the Upworks of the world, et cetera. And there's sort of a convergence around creating a feedback loop around the activities and services these folks provide, and then leveraging the data from that to inform smart algorithms that then lead to what one might call AI. So that feedback loop informs sort of a clever decision-making system that can run on its own. I haven't seen anything where I felt like it's absolutely sort of pure AI. That said, that's not a core focus of mine at this point in time, but sort of the deep blues of the world and sort of the Watsons, et cetera, I think are far sort of beyond what I've seen in my backyard, certainly. I think some of the interesting kind of applications of AI are around obviously sort of autonomous vehicles, whether it be trucking, rail, we've seen a lot with shipping as well, and sort of ensuring that the navigation systems can make decisions on their own. So sort of an autopilot type of an AI application to transportation is something that's interesting that I'm seeing quite a lot of. I would also say that within sort of gaming engines are becoming more and more intelligent around whether it's sort of a role-playing opportunity or an action game, just becoming smarter and smarter in terms of competition. So those are some applications that I've seen in recent history.
Well, and data analytics is a similar field where you're pulling a lot of data sets together and making analysis on it. And there too, it has a lot of promise and a lot of hope. But when you dig down into it, making it pay back and making a successful business out of it can be quite a challenge. How do you see data analytics playing out for the investor or the startups that are going into it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think people have made quantum leaps around data over the past couple of years. Certainly, the data science division of a whole variety of startups has really sort of evolved very rapidly. And I don't know who the pioneers are, whether it was Google or Microsoft, but certainly every single new startup that crops up will hire a data engineer to track every single transaction that takes place, or call it load balancing on a CPU. I mean, I think there are a whole variety of important applications. And I think the use of data fundamentally helps improve the margins of a business, just like sort of AI ostensibly does. I think helps with more informed decision-making, higher conversion rates, kind of all the usual suspects. Like all the KPIs of a business can be optimized off the back of smart data analysis.
Well, I have companies coming to me providing services, and I always coach them that they should start collecting data off of their systems now. Even if they can't process it, they should collect it.
Absolutely.
It's clean, well-structured data. Of course, you can telegraph to the investor you're going to be a data analytics company in the future. And then once you have the service working, well, then now you work on the data analytics, and that is not necessarily a second company, but it's really a second product line you can sell that has recurring revenue and a lot of other great things to like about it from a business point of view. And then you can then layer on top of those algorithms for AI. And then instead of trying to get there all in one go, we're kind of breaking it down into core service, collecting data, and then making decisions on it. And those could be years apart as well. And I don't know how many people do it that way or not do it that way, but it seems like it's one way to go forward. What's your take on that?
I think that's 100% right. I mean, I think as an investor, like we almost have a responsibility to ensure that our businesses track data and have good time series data and make informed decisions around resource allocation. And in order to do that, like you've got to have someone who's responsible for it / the right infrastructure to be tracking it. So, I think from the get-go, every business should sort of spin up data division or sort of a data function. In terms of sort of separate revenue streams around data, certainly people believe that there can be sort of inquiry-based, call it like lead generation opportunities off the back of data. So business produces, call it an interesting data set around separate business, but that has a relation to kind of the core business. Why not sell that data on to, call it a potential partner, will then become closer to that core business. And then maybe there's some sort of a JV that evolves out of it. There are a lot of really interesting permutations on data usage. And I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg.
Absolutely. It sounds like it's an opportunity for just about any business to layer data on top of it at some level for some group. But as the tools get better, we'll see more of that coming out as well. And when I worked in AI and did data analytics, that was the biggest challenge, was having good, clean data, well structured. So if you have that, you have something that other people will want at some point.
Yeah, and I think sort of conversely, like there's a strong desire among investors for sort of raw data. When we get the pure transaction data, the call it like unadorned, call it CSV file or Excel file, just a data download that we can then do our own analysis off of, because there is sometimes concern around data that's been kind of rehashed and reproduced in order to create sort of, call it dashboards or whatever else, that they may not be as reflective of a business as they might be. And so I think there's a lot to be said for sort of really digging into it and making sure that it's understood as well.
Well, it's great for you taking time to share your thoughts with our listeners about these topics, blockchain, AI, data analytics, and more. How best for the listeners to get back in touch with you?
Well, they can certainly add me on LinkedIn or just send me an email.
That's great. Well, we'll put those in the show notes and let people get in touch with you either way. Again, thank you for taking time, and we'll hope to have you back soon.
All right. Really appreciate it. Have a good one.
Investor Connect helps investors interested in startup funding. In this podcast series, experienced investors share their experience and advice. You can learn more at investorconnect.org. Paul T. Martin is the director of Investor Connect, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors for early stage funding. All opinions expressed by Hall and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Investor Connect. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions.